Hey, what is going on, everyone? I hope you guys are doing super well. Uh, this is Dr. Delon Canterbury. I'm doing something a little bit non-traditional from our usual red pill versus blue pill. I am back in the hometown, so I am just kicking it at home with my lovely cello. I'm taking this time to reflect on 2022, something I generally struggle with, but nonetheless very much excited to take on. And I think one way of myself just holding myself accountable is to do it live and, well, let the world know. So I'm able to hold myself accountable and hopefully encourage or inspire others to find that little niche themselves. So, I'm actually taking a little bit of a break and just kicking it and using this time to figure out what the next move is, what's been working for me, what's been working in the world of deprescribing, what's been working for the family, and really just focus on joy, joy. So there's been a lot of joy that I want to share with you all, and really, I'm just excited. I'm excited. I'm happy, and one of my biggest goals was getting comfy with my cello. This is my favorite instrument of all time. I used to be a bassist in high school and middle school, and so I knew how to read music and play the bass. And truthfully, I didn't like it as much. I was kind of typecasted because I was a 6'3" kid and took that time to, well, play the bass. But really, I'm more a cellist anyway. But to add to why this cello is really in all of this is because this was one of my goals. This was one of my personal goals for 2022, and it was to get comfortable playing the cello. I'd play on and off anyway, but now I feel like I can actually be a part of a group. I could maybe volunteer my services. Um, yeah, so I'm just happy. But despite playing and just messing around on this and using repetition and dedicating time to this, it was just crazy, the translation between doing something small each day leading to incremental change. And I felt there was a huge parallel with that in business, in life, even in friendships, even at your jobs. But just what you put in, you get out. So I wasn't expecting to have, a bow well rosined and a hand down. And yeah, I could read music, but I'm not over here like, oh, messing around, having fun, having confidence, applying for my very first uh, orchestra. Like I haven't been in an orchestra since what? Since what? Oh nine? No, not even that. Oh five. Oh five. So that's 17 years since I have played in public in front of an audience, and that was my high school year. So here I am in my own hometown playing this cello confidently, and it was from maybe two or three, maybe an hour, 30 minutes of just fooling around a day. And really today, I'm not really here to show off a cello at all. I actually use this to kind of muse and reflect and even sometimes pray. It's a way to kind of zen out. So this is something, I mean, I might play a piece or two, whatever, but really I'm here to just talk about some of the reflections I've made and observations in personal growth and connections and some of the, quote unquote failures. Not everything is necessarily a failure in my definition. It's a mindset shift. It's a lesson learned. Um, but for me, 2022 was was a whirlwind. I can easily say it was a fun time, just for the loved ones, for for personal growth, my family, for getting even a bit closer with God and spiritualism, and understanding people's energies, people's attitudes, mindset, all these little pieces in this journey that I call, geriatrics or the Deprescribing Accelerator, whatever. But it's been a ride. It's been a ride. So why not share the joy, but also share the result, the product of just doing something small, something different, challenging myself. My mom gifted me this cello um, in 2017. It was for my 30th birthday party. So I definitely want to thank my mom. I love her so much. She understood that I have been talking about buying a cello for years. So I've been talking about this for years. And it stared at me day in, day out while I was working in retail. I was working at that time as a specialty HIV pharmacy manager with Walgreens in Durham. And I was there in 2017, 2018, like for like half a year. And one of the challenges I made this past year, of after suffering some personal difficulties and losses, um, one of my promises to myself was to get comfy with the cello, just to get comfy, just to get at least cool enough to maybe volunteer at a nursing home or senior center, or just do a gig, just to have fun, right? Because it's my calming thing. And in doing what I would say about 30 minutes to an hour a day of starting my day off, no client stuff, no business stuff. It would be coffee, prayer, and meditation. And I'm not going to say I did it every day, because God knows I was not meditating every day, right? I was, if anything, praying and just trying to I don't know, ground myself, use these terms that I wasn't comfortable with. So the grounding piece here was where I started getting clarity and started getting consistency. And I am, for those who know me, I'm very, I'm very fly by night. If I see something, I do it and then figure out later how to do it. That's how I've always been. And that's how I learn. Um, but in doing that, I felt great with the cello. And in doing this, it improved, believe it or not, it just improved how I showed up authentically within my business. It was crazy. It was weird. Like before, I'm like chasing, 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 chasing. Now I'm like being more intentional, being more grounded. And I just felt today was a good opportunity to share a little bit of this gift, sure, but to just share how I think sometimes feeding that inner child to shut off your brain with the day-to-day stuff can really open up doors and windows to other sides of you, other ways of connecting dots, other ways of maybe having some things that you were currently stuck on become unstuck just from a moment of walking away and finding a little bit of clarity. So I do think there's a role God absolutely has played in this for me, but even without that, I wasn't, a woo-woo person. I wasn't let me wake up, you saw, woo saw, clear my head. Like even working out to me was like it just didn't happen, right? I've spent most of my life not really stressing that, as I rather raise my So anyway, just to reiterate again, this is fairly new to me. Okay, I am no expert at half the things I do, although I kind of am in some. I'm not gonna discredit. I'm kind of cool, but there's no magic wand for half this stuff, man. Like a lot of this is rinsing and repeating, testing, figuring out what works, and just serving in alignment with who you are as a core person. Like how you show up for others, I think defines our true purpose as people. I think humanity isn't meant to be lived in a silo. I think we all need each other, and we all have individual gifts that help each other get through whatever phase of life they may be struggling with, right? And so that had me in this space of gratitude and reflection for, yes, some of the losses. I'm not going to say failures, maybe a loss, but it's never like the end of the war. So kind of going through the time zones. Starting with the first quarter for GeriatRx. Anyway, I messed up. I don't care. But the first quarter, I was scared, bro. First quarter was tough. I'm gonna be honest. First quarter, I was going through a lot of emotional distress, not just personally, but in relationships and family. Um, I really was gambling on myself a little bit more in how I'm gonna serve our seniors, and that was when I piloted our very first cohort of our Deprescribing Accelerator with our first three amazing certified Deprescribing alumni, Dr. Judy Waldman, Miss Sharon Fant, the lovely nurse, and Miss Charlene Sparks, another lovely nurse, who are awesome, who have holistic healing circles, who have created Deprescribing workshops, conferences, rolled out PGX guided services. I mean, they have stepped up way beyond what I expected my very first cohort would touch on and start doing with what they've learned from our program. From just discussing opioid deprescribing, false risk assessments, talking about PGX guided methods, looking for ways to utilize patient advocacy and community facing partnerships to really drive home the mission of stopping overprescribing. So, in our first cohort, mind you, I created this program the November prior to last year. So in 2021 was when I created this program from the work I did one-on-one for all of my patients, who I met, for all the patients I met, over the first 3 years in business. Hey, Portia, appreciate you joining in. And it was so good meeting with you for lunch earlier today, and discussing the power of connecting and pharmacogenomics and the world of oncology. So much kudos for you and the work you are doing. So I'm so glad you took the time to just reach out and grab a bite with me and explore my foodie side. So thank you. But I have to also thank Howard McLeod. Howard McLeod is one of my key mentors and past teachers from UNC Pharmacy School. So, I mean, if it wasn't for him connecting us in the genomics world, I'm not sure where we would be, but it's just funny how the road works out. But going back to what I was talking about in January, was I was kind of petrified. Like I didn't want to kind of fall into this trap of just being another coach like everyone else in the industry. And I don't mean just pharmacy, but just that everyone's a coach out there. And it's not to discredit the field or that, but it was it honestly fell into me, and seeing the change in people, and not even realizing I had a gift to motivate and inspire in a way that gets people moving. I didn't know I had that. Like, I still am kind of in disbelief. People see me as this famous person. Like, dude, I'm just a guy at home playing my cello who happens to like video games and travel. But in all this being said, um, the first cohort scared me. Like, I knew what I was doing, but I didn't feel like I was good enough yet. Like, I didn't have the data, or I didn't feel like this is so new. The health system is gonna like see me as some wild card pariah who's trying to blow up pharmacy. Like, I don't care that much. I do care about the problem, and the problem, which we know, is over medication in seniors, and in period. We just throw pills at everything, period. So I, again, didn't want to fall into this paradigm of just being some other coach. But when I started seeing the bubbles light, and the bulbs light, the movement start, the results happen, the patients touch, the medications deprescribed, the affirmations from doing this course 3 times in the last year, I mean, the proof became clearer to me, even though the last year I'm in disbelief of the reception of the deprescribing accelerator. I'm blown away at the interest and the overwhelming support. So I gotta give a moment for just straight gratitude and thanks for all of the people who've reached out, who have sent an encouraging direct message, who are like, dude, where have you been? Like, it affirms so much, because again, we get into our heads, we feel no one is really truly listening in the universe of YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook. We kind of just get stuck to the likes and the comments and the engagements and the stats and the numbers, and it ends up being addicting to where you lose some of your sanity, right? But no, screw that. um, those messages meant so much to me, and they still do, because we reach out and we remain connected. Because even if you're not in the program, even if just want to meet me and get to just show what you're doing and I can support in some way, I still end up winning. I end up winning because I get joy from seeing other people win. And that is a gift. I didn't realize, most people don't always think that way. And in a world where you kind of already have your own head wondering, what am I really doing? Um, sometimes the internet can be a cold place, right? It could be real. It could get real dark real fast, and no one's trying to be outcasted or whatever, blacklisted or whatever. But time and time again, I meet more and more and more and more brilliant people who I think are smarter than me, but truthfully are stuck in just this rut of repetition, of not truly serving in the capacity that they want. And I don't mean, trips to San Tropez every 2 weeks. I just mean taking some time off for themselves with their loved ones. It could be travel. It could be, I don't know, riding a horse. It could be as a hobby that they've neglected. And again, this is what represents the side of me that I've neglected for 17 years. I am a pure cellist. I was even told I wouldn't be a cellist when I was in orchestra. They're like, just stick to the bass, buddy. No shade to my teachers, but I get it. I'm 6'4", and you want me on the bass because you need people that are tall to carry the bass. I get that. Don't typecast me though. The cello is what I love, and the cello just has this soulful feel. So for me to be able to confidently go to a nursing home and say, hey, I'm a pharmacist and I want to talk about overprescribing. Let's have a talk. Can I do a performance for you guys for 20 minutes and we talk about deprescribing? I haven't even done that, but I can. And I'm lining this up to do that so I could start doing this more in the community and using my gift from God, my craft, to help serve people, especially dementia patients. Music therapy is gold for patients suffering with dementia. They're not dementia patients, there are patients who have dementia. So excuse my verbiage, there is a difference in how you say that. So I say this to go into discussing the imposter syndrome I've felt, I don't know, all my life, because this wasn't just an overnight shift. A lot of this was the investment in coaches. I have to take a moment to please express my deepest gratitude to coaches that I've invested in over the years. And a lot of it came down to mindset. And there was a time where I wasn't even listening. It was like, I'm in this course and I'm not even using all this stuff because I'm not in that mindset yet. And it took me like a year and a half later to start applying the stuff I learned in an earlier course. Like, oh, okay, abundance mindset. There is no lack. Everything is a growth. Everything is a win. Everything's an opportunity. And then the doors just open, right? I mean, last year was my first year speaking on a national scale at ASCP, the American Society of Consultant Pharmacists. That was a dream I've had just professionally since I was in pharmacy school. I wanted to speak on a national scale. I did it for the state level for North Carolina for COVID and vaccine hesitancy in 2020. But last year was like the goal turned reality. So here I am, first time at ASCP. I may be a 2-year, 3-year member, and I'm at ASCP, basically the leading geriatric pharmacist conference in the country, in the world. And I'm giving literally a 15-minute TED talk on the power of deprescribing. And to see the reception, to see how do you do this? To see the mindset shifts in just the conversations I have, to see the world of opportunity, to see people start thinking that, hey, maybe I can get that flexibility. Hey, maybe I don't have to work all of these hours and drive 5 hours across the state just to do an audit and come back exhausted and neglect time for family, neglect time for my dog, whatever, neglect time for my girlfriend. You start seeing the wheels turn. You start seeing the joy. You start seeing people grow, man. And it's like this kind of childlike wonder of, dang, I didn't know that was possible. Dang, I didn't even know. Wow, I have done a lot. And that's what I find in these conversations with people who are interested in our program, is they simply have slept on themselves. I'm gonna let that marinate. They've slept on themselves. They didn't think it was even possible. And it's like 6 degrees of the world of possibility that's right there for them. And it's like, to me, it's clear as day, but we're so mired with the day-to-day, with the stresses of the world, with, stressful job situation. Ain't nobody trying to be in retail. We got pharmacist shortages. But man, there's so much good that can come from a slight pivot or from a slight mindset shift. And I, again, have been in those trenches. I've been in those trenches. I've done those. I've been a 24-hour pharmacy manager. I've been an HIV pharmacist, been a specialty pharmacy manager, been a poison control pharmacist. All those jobs I either got depressed, stepped down, or fired from. So I'm saying this to say, if you can do this just a little bit, and finding your inner child, that gives you that peace, that gets you grounded, that gets you centered, I think you'll get more clarity around how do I get out of this, or how do I pivot my pharmacist skills to become whatever it is. And I mean, again, it doesn't have to be like you being in a part of my program. It's simply, have you taken a moment to celebrate every small win you've had in the last quarter, in the last year? Have you taken a moment to see how you've touched other people and not just see it as business as usual, but no, literally write it out? It's an amazing exercise. And I try to do it every year. This past year, I did it around Christmas. It was 5 pages of a Word doc of bullet points of stuff I've done on a month basis, from um, from being invited to serve as a TEDx speaker. That was my number one goal in 2020. It took me 3 years, but I've officially been invited to serve as a TEDx speaker for TEDx Ocala in Florida. It'll be this year. It'll be around Thanksgiving. I think I get some free tickets. I don't know all the details yet, but I'll let you know more and give a formal announcement around that. Excuse me. But the first quarter, oh, excuse me, got my mom walking in. Hey, mommy. What you up to? I'm on a video, so I know you don't want to be on video. So I am going to let you walk on by. But you had a good time at church? I got your fish in the kitchen. Love you. Anyway, I'm just playing the cello a bit and just reflecting. Okay, so I'm just playing the cello and reflecting. So don't mind me. Give me a kiss.
So you've been cooking, huh?
Yeah, man. It was impressively good. It was really good Cajun food. I went with my friend Portia. She actually might be listening. That's cool. Thank you, CC, for the thanks and the congratulations. I appreciate that. But yeah, so that happened last year around August, when my mom and I were actually in South America, trying to build a family home. But needless to say, we had 3 successful cohorts last year for the Deprescribing Accelerator. For me personally, the first one was like, okay, this was a fluke. I ain't doing this right. But the reception of the 3 after was wonderful. Not just with reviews, but with how they felt empowered to better advocate for their caregivers, for seniors. The second cohort was even better. It was my first time testing whether I can have this business work internationally. And that was when I gave one of my classes last year in Turkey. I was in Istanbul for a wedding with my good friend from UNC Pharmacy School, Demet, and her husband was also Turkish. So that was my first time teaching this class for my cohort in Istanbul, right? And I mean, I had to look for an adapter. I had to try to translate and figure out, this is the right plug for my computer. I had to make sure the Wi-Fi was cool, all on the fly. Needless to say, it worked out. But that was a huge undertaking just for me as a win, because here I am touring one of the 7 wonders of the world. Like I'm literally at the Hagia Sophia. I'm looking at all these beautiful mosques. I'm looking at beautiful people with beautiful cultures. And I'm over here as a pharmacist, right? Not tied to a bench, still making my rent, still eating, still saving a bit for the future. And that says a lot, because I literally felt I was doomed to 50 to 60 years of hovering over and hurting myself, or just not even thinking that there was a remote way to be a pharmacist, right? Because we just don't believe it until you start seeing other people get creative and just do it. But I have to give my kudos, and this is what I was alluding to, of thanks to those initial coaches that brought me to the forefront. When I was in retail, the only people I knew that were out there were, and this was like up to 2017, 2016, were Blair Thielmeyer. So she was the first coach I invested in, because I just, again, there was no one else really teaching people how to do this. There was Ken Sternfield of RX VIP Concierge, which is where I got my idea for concierge pharmacist services. And he, I think, does both billing and cash based, and he has a passion for seniors. I love that model. So I'm like, okay, smooth. People are doing this, right? He's based up in New York. If you haven't heard of him, go ahead, check him out. Ken Sternfield. And then initially, aside from those two, which were pharmacists, there was Kevin Yee, and he was a really popular pharmacist YouTuber in Cali who I was drawn to, because he made a pretty decent career in just leveraging his voice and his podcast, and started getting completely out of pharmacy. And this was back in like the early tens of the 2000s, right? So at that time, these were like, to me, it was like, whoa, people are even talking about this, because I was burned out. I was tired. I was hating life. I hated commuting an hour for work for a job I felt was soulless. And I had to beg to just get time off. Those were my influences when I wasn't even thinking about geriatrics. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is what I'm interested in. And frankly, following those people kept leading to more and more opportunities and mindsets. I had a buddy from Emory, Mark Codon, who was a part of the Joy Revolution. He was my other coaches. He's more of a life coach, positive attitude coach. Really, really great guy, just super passionate about changing mindset and showing how to get results. And that's where I started learning about Reiki healing. That's where I started getting introduced to TEDx speakers, because he is also a TEDx speaker. That's where we started having like masterminds and hot seats and things that I just thought were kind of cool buzzwords. But it helped me grow, because I met awesome people across the world who have these wonderful gifts. And it led me to be more comfortable in being in my own skin. Because if you didn't know me prior to all this, I'm actually generally pretty introverted. I'm actually pretty shy. I have a persona, in being in a fraternity and all that from undergrad, because I'm a big guy. I have whatever, but generally I rather just be inside. But I didn't know I was kind of an extrovert as well. So being in those circles got me a bit more confident to just share some of those gifts. Box Cello Suite was one of my goals for playing the cello. So being able to know that melody just means the world to me. It's one of my favorite tunes. Hey, Cuzzo, what's going on, Yonette? You doing okay? Love you. Hope you're doing well. Um, But needless to say, with all this, coaching has been monumental for me. So I can easily say that was where the majority of my initial investments in starting geriatrics went into, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know this stuff. Clinicians don't know this stuff. We don't know how to sell ourselves. You have to kind of learn. And we're not taught to be business minded, really, as much as we should in our schooling. So that meant a lot, to put in the energy to have trusted advisors. And so after working with Mark Cordon with the Joy Revolution, I hired Jerisha Hop, one of my ultimate favorite coaches, as Jerisha Hop, and then Jerika Dodd as well, who taught me some really valuable lessons. And with Jerika Dodd, Dodd is also another pharmacist and founder of the Pharmacist magazine, and has been a huge motivator and advocate, not just for seeing and highlighting the importance of women in the pharmacy profession, but the versatility of a pharmacist, and teaching people to learn that their dreams are urgent. So that is her quote. I did not steal that. But that is what I appreciate so much about Jerika, is her willingness to pour into people and tap into that gift of helping people get unstuck and find some of that clarity. So yeah, okay. But let's get to the topic at hand. The topic at hand is 2022, a year of review for geriatrics, for the Deprescribing Accelerator, and what kind of, you know, God winks, I would say. So people say, I've heard download, like God winks, or like little testaments or sprinkles of faith that come your way when things look like complete hell. And it's like, okay, all right, I am doing the right thing. Or that patient's got better. Okay, this is the right thing. Wow. Okay. The doctor agreed. Okay, great. Perfect. This is a sign. This is something like, even in my own journey, I didn't realize, even in patients I felt I didn't help as much as I would like, that I was still helping them. I was still helping them in some way, shape, or form. Even if I don't know the answer, I can get them to someone who does. And I think having that appreciation of just helping is so undervalued. And I mean, even from business to business, clinician to clinician, patient to patient, and anything in between, there's so much we have that we just don't know. And once you know something, you end up being empowered and can make an action, a change. Or you want to remain unstuck. That's you. That's on you. It's your prerogative. But we got one life to live, man. And why not do it doing what you love, having fun, but also serving other people? That's the whole point. So last year was a whirlwind. The best, I would say, let's start with some of the wins. First win, of course, was getting comfortable on this cello that I've had sitting collecting dust. And I thank my mom for gratuitously for this amazing gift. That it's really reinvigorated a piece of me that I think I've needed. But last year for me was the overwhelming reception of deprescribing. Um, Within a lot of the conferences and spaces I've either spoken with or um, taught, whether it was a CE lecture, whether I was pitching to a business, whether it was just an informal discussion with a nursing home, or trying to do an in-service for clinicians who want to learn more about monetizing deprescribing or sustainably implementing deprescribing within senior facing businesses. There's a resounding need for pharmacists to leverage this skill set, and people just don't know, or if they don't know, they don't have the time, and they want someone to do it for them. So having these convos kept kind of affirming, you know what, you are on the right track, Delon. Stop doubting yourself. Just do it. Just do it. Just keep helping. And it took about 2.5 years, 3 years to really get that mindset and confidence and comfort despite the glitz and glam you may see in the red pill versus blue pill, it took a while to get that cadence. It does, and really it comes from just getting the nitty gritty, ugly truth of what people are going through day in, day out. It's what the caregivers see, it's what you and I see, it's what the health system sees, it's what we sadly let happen as well within our health system. And I aim to change that. And I aim to make that my reason to be as a pharmacist, because I cannot I cannot ethically just be a part of the problem and die and hope my retirement check finally pays off for all my hard work. I can't do that. I need to do that now. I'm living that life now, and I'm okay with that. And not everyone has to do that. I don't expect that, but I do expect people to serve and show up. So 2022 was the most, I would say, the most recognition I've had for public speaking engagements. That was when I really started refining my speaker fees. I started increasing my speaker rates for public events. I started pitching to national conferences, and so I spoke at uh, the Healthcare Advocate Summit hosted by Liz Johnson and Melissa Page. Awesome. They are nurses and a pharmacy technician who have become renowned leaders in the healthcare advocacy and patient access and navigation space. Um, and I was honored to talk about that. And then you start seeing again the stories, the trickles, oh my gosh, I had a med list I looked at 30 meds. I didn't know what to do. And it's just like, it's the same story. They're over medicated seniors over and over and over, and we're expected to have a growth of them by 2030, 2050. We're going to have about 70 million seniors that Medicare can barely handle. So if Medicare can't handle this, this is going to fall to primary care, which is falling to health group purchasing organizations, because your local mom and pop doctor doesn't really exist anymore. It's all health systems buying up land, buying up properties, buying up practices. So being invited to speak to an audience who falls into those categories and have it resonate is a blessing. So I would say the confidence came from going to these conferences. So every conference has, in some way, shape, or form, paid it forward. Yes, it's an investment. Sometimes it's courtesy or free, but it was an investment to not only network but to again share the mission of my why, and that is paying off in 2023 already. So I want you guys to take a moment. I know I've been kind of rambling, but I want y'all to take a moment to seriously list 10 things you might be grateful for that happened to you emotionally this past year. I mean, could be you taking some time for yourself or self care, or you treated a loved one to a gift, or you paid their house off, or what was something that was uh, emotionally freeing for you, if there was anything that may fall into that category. I'm just curious to see what's been happening for you. For me, what realization I came and gained from this year of kind of doing all the things is that it really does take a village. It really does take a village to grow a business. It takes an aligned and uniform front. It takes a culture, and I've been one man showing it for a little bit too long. So I think this is the year of growth and scale and expansion. But I would say more importantly, intention around how are we putting deprescribing into churches? How are we putting it into home health agencies? How are we putting this into accrediting bodies for these facilities, these SNFs, these LTCs? How are we involving our areas, agencies on aging around the topic of overprescribing? Because they're the ones seeing patients referred or needing services, sadly, with some of them, resulting from a lack of uh, medication management or side effects gone out of control. Or maybe sometimes it's just a simple thing as transportation and not being able to do their own laundry. That could put someone in a nursing home or a SNF that quick. Just that little need can be you can't do IADLs or activities of daily living, so you got to go. So it's bigger than a med list too. It's sometimes it's just it could be financial strain. It could be being lonely, being isolated. Um, but for me, emotionally, this was probably the happiest I've been in my life. I think it's easy to say that, and I mean, for me, I'm not a very expressive person, at least at least emotionally, because it's something that I'm practicing more now. But during this year, it was clear that I could say from about April to December, I was like on 10 out of 10 happy. Like, yeah, there are some days you're off and whatever, but for the most part, it's like I'm waking up overjoyed and ecstatic to help patients, to help, you know, de-prescribing alumni and advocates, to present and guest lecture at pharmacy schools, to be invited to speak at public and national forums. But not even just that, just to be a trusted resource. That's like the best part of this is getting the text messages or the questions or the, how do I, who's best for this? How can you help me with these meds? Or I have someone for you that I think you should check out. That's the fun part is like knowing we can help people outside of just what we do in our 9 to 5s. And I think that's what's kind of missing in work. It's like there isn't a community facing kind of piece to it. Healthcare, maybe that's a little different to make that extrapolation. But in general, I don't think most jobs are requiring people to do community service. And that's something that I hope to require for my future employees as I scale is to have that type of commitment to something that means something to them. Otherwise, what's really the point? Um, but anyway, that was a big win. Emotionally, I'm trying to think of uh, some lows for me. There was there was a good bit of negative self-talk at one point. I would say that was actually around the conferences. I went to about 9 conferences last year, maybe spoke at 4 or 5. And it was always this anxiety up until the conference where I would just have this dialogue of, do I belong? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. These people are smarter than me. I haven't done this long enough. How can I teach people who have 30 years of business or experience or whatever? And then I have convos with Chad Wars, like casually. I have convos with, you know, people who are CEOs of health companies, people who run the metrics for HEDIS, people who have their own startups who have millions in funding and are still doing the work and are still humble and are still paying it forward or mentoring someone. So there was initial fear. Um, and even after the affirmation, I would still double back and be like, okay, God, is that what you really meant? Are you sure? And I had to start letting go of that little voice of doubt. So I would say that is the main thing I'm trying to let go in 2023 and just embrace, the people that come my way that genuinely mean well and do what I can to pour into my friends and family and business besties that have helped me get unstuck. So I have to give a huge shout out to a couple more mentors, Dr. Ken Shell, Dr. Howard McLeod, Dr. LaKoya Johnson, Dr. Adrian Mims. Um, One of my patients is also a good mentor and friend, Mr. Jay Reinstein. He's been hugely monumental. There's Dr. Farron Epps, who has been a wonderful supporter with the research she does in dementia and Black caregiving and advocacy. She's been a huge advocate and friend. Miss Keisha Jackson of the Encouraging Stories group. She's a caregiver advocate focusing on vets who need some support. I have to thank Heather Altman and Heather Burkhart, who I met from the North Carolina Coalition on Aging, and I recently applied to be a board member. Didn't get the position, that's okay, but I am an active member, and I'm hoping to have more opportunities with them. I also want to thank Mr. Harold Barnett. He's been a huge influence, and he's also a part of the Coalition on Aging, and he's poured into me a bit on how to think strategically. But I say this to say that I wouldn't be here with my cello talking about deprescribing, leading the nation in talking about deprescribing strategies for seniors and putting a community facing lens on it without people pouring into me. And that's why I'm hoping this can serve as a way to hopefully pour into you. So, really, I'd love to know your thoughts and your comments. I am gonna just play a couple songs and let you enjoy your 2023. But I hope this was resonating for you in any way. It's a little different. I don't usually do this. I feel like sometimes it's like it's showing off, but at this point, I'm just sharing a gift. I'm no longer seeing it as showing off. I'm simply sharing my story, and you can't take away your story. Also, lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to our cohort, our current cohort that's finished up this past December. Huge shout out to Dr. Tamara Ruckles and Dr. Megan Keller. What's up, guys? Want to send some love. I'm so proud of y'all. You not only killed our course with the Deprescribing Accelerator, but you have launched your own businesses. So I got to give a huge round of applause to the homie. Both of you have faced those fears, have faced those very same insecurities I mentioned, but you still did it. And you both have launched your own businesses in 2022. So I'm looking to see you utilize deprescribing and Megan, your passion for yoga, as well as holistic healing, and Tamara's experience in LTC pharmacies and pharmacogenomics to put that into our communities and continue to serve. So, gotta give y'all some love. We are currently screening for our final cohort. I'm sorry, our next cohort, not final. This is going to be in perpetuity, but we were going to launch in February. Okay, February 20th is our tentative date. We meet once a week. The deadline to apply is January 20th. So go and apply. So yeah, I'm gonna play a song or two and let y'all just rock out. So much love. I'm wishing everyone, peace, love, and an abundance in 2023. Just appreciate y'all tuning in and just saying what's up while I'm here. But yeah, any questions, drop a like, comment, DM. Love to hear what's going on in your world. What are some emotional breakthroughs you may have had? If you don't want to put it in the comments, you could easily put it in a chat and just direct message me. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I would love for you, if you are a nurse or a pharmacist or clinician, or of course, a social worker who works with seniors interested in our Deprescribing Accelerator, go ahead, choose the red pill, comment red pill if you like. I will respond and give you more details on how to apply, or just check out our link. You're going to have info and more details on our program there. Do it again. Peace. Much love in 2023, y'all. Take care.